with English Online. I'm Pam El-Alfi. I'm the e-volunteer coordinator at English Online, and I'm happy to have you on a Saturday morning to join us for one of our new webinars. So as I have asked you, yes, we have Mary, Farida, and Amrita, of course, our colleague at English Online, and e-facilitator. So if you can let me know what is your, if you're teaching, that's great. If you are a volunteer already with us, just let me know. Of course, I know Farida and Mary is one of our volunteers that will hopefully be returning to us soon upon finishing her studies. So that's great. Okay, so let's start with, I have a couple of questions here for you just to make the webinar a little bit interactive. Hi, Matthew. How are you? That's great. So you're an EAP teacher in Toronto. That's great. I'm located in Mississauga, Ontario, and yeah, it's great to see fellow teachers in Ontario. That's great. Okay, so let's start with these two questions. I'm hoping for this session to be more interactive. So question one, please share your experience if you have previously worked using portfolios in general, like PBLA. If yes, what worked for you and what didn't? So here we're talking, yeah, about regular hard copy portfolios, if you have. And question two, do you have any experience using e-portfolios, which is the topic of our session today, of our webinar, and what tools have you used? So Mary says that I have taught EFL before, so I'm not very familiar with PBLA, just from my coursework. Yeah, just as a student. Yeah, like me. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Mary. So for Farida, Amrita, and for Matthew. Okay, okay. Sounds good. Google Drive. So yeah, Mary says that she's been using Google Drive informally, which is one of the excellent tools. Yes, for sure, as an e-portfolio. Farida, your question, what does it stand for? What do you mean? What does it stand for? The PBLA, you mean? Yeah, PBLA is portfolio-based language assessment, and it's one of the important assessment tools that that is used in linked classes now. For CLB, exactly. No, no problem, Mary. It's fine. It's great. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it's just good, more paper-based, Amrita. Yeah, so more of the hard copy, like the actual binder that you can keep in your classroom, which is what the portfolio is about for the regular ones. Yeah, that are generally used in Link. I guess I don't teach Link classes, but that's what I learned. Great. All right. So here is our agenda for, hi, Rainer. Good morning. Great to have you to join us. All right. So here's our agenda. We're going to start with throwing some light. Definitely, Amrita. It's going to be, it is recorded. And the PowerPoint presentation will be definitely uploaded, yes, on and published on our website. So yeah, no worries. There are important links that are there, so I would like everyone to share them, of course. Okay, so we'll highlight a little bit of what e-portfolios are, discuss some types, and then talk about the underlying theory of applying or using e-portfolios with your learners. Then we're going to share some best practices that other educators who are more experienced with e-portfolios are advising us of, share some benefits, and then discuss how can we use e-portfolios for assessment. And then finally share few tools. There are many actually out there, but I've selected around 4 for you to research and see if they're gonna you find them suitable for you or not to use. Okay, and then finally questions and answers. But feel free along the way, if you have any questions after maybe each slide or so, to ask questions. Okay, so according to Zulfikar 2016, e-portfolios, which are also called, they have different names, web-based, technology-based, digital portfolios, can be defined as digital documentation or collection of artifacts, okay, items, inventory, in the form of video clips, text, visuals, and coursework. So there could be a variety of what a student or an individual would like to collect in his or her e-portfolio. And the owner here could vary from an individual, and this individual could be a student, could be a teacher, could be a professional, a group of people, or organizations, like institutions or schools. And they are about, e-portfolios are about personal reflection on your work to start with, and also to reflect on your achievements or share your achievements with others, and your thoughts as well. Okay, so that will take us to types of e-portfolios. Upon researching, I learned that there are actually 3 major types, which are assessment, learning, and career transfer. So, and actually, these are the ones that are related to the 3 major types here: developmental, reflective, representational. Okay, so let's take a look at each of these types. So the developmental here is an e-portfolio that you continue to work with. So it shows the progress of a project. If you're still continuing collecting your items or trying to finish a project, then you get to call it developmental in that case. And the purpose is a storage of one's work, and it could be life experience as well. So it's not only related to school. And here is a good opportunity for the student to diagnose the needs, or the teacher to diagnose the student's needs. The audience who will take a look at this work could be students themselves, could be teachers, or parents. The second type is actually reflective, okay? And for the reflective and assessment, they fall under the learning e-portfolio. So you can use reflection as a way of learning, or you can use it as an assessment also as a way of learning. And here the purpose is to encourage self-assessment. This is actually one of the major purposes of e-portfolios, is to encourage, and I guess can be applied on portfolios generally speaking, is to encourage the learner to self-assess and to demonstrate the mastery of curriculum objectives, which is related more to assessment. The audience here could be students themselves, teachers, or on a wider level could be the school district. So a teacher can share her students' e-portfolios with the school district just to confirm that there is mastery of curriculum objectives or not. Curriculum objectives are being met or not. And the third type here is the one that many people can use actually other than students. So if you're a professional who would like to showcase your work, could be for photography, artifacts, could be for work purposes, your resume, your reference letters, and so on, or could be for students who would like, again, to display their best work and demonstrate a high level of achievement. And here is the part where students sort of own their learning, and they try to be proud of what they have accomplished and share their work with others. So the audience here, as we said, could be students, anyone of choice, teachers, parents, colleges, future employers, and so on. So any questions so far about these, categories? Sometimes they sort of, intermingle, and you can have many times actually, you can have one e-portfolio that includes the three, purposes or the three types, depending, I guess, on the tool you are using. Okay, and then there are two more. E-portfolios can be further broken down into two more subtypes, which are standardized and personalized. Standardized is usually used when the teacher uses this type of portfolio for many students in the classroom. So the teacher would like to allow all students to be using almost, uniform, method of applying e-portfolio with little room of expression. So here, everyone is doing almost the same, which sometimes defeats the purpose of using an e-portfolio, because it should be more about leaving it for the learner to express himself or herself. But mainly it's used for assessing students' work, okay, compared to other students. Also demonstrating high level of achievement. So for those of you who have a little bit of experience working with PBLA and how this is applied in link classes, from my understanding from other educators who work in that field, that Okay, can all the three types mentioned earlier be integrated in one to meet our needs? Yes, definitely, Farida. Yes, the answer to your question is yes, as I have mentioned a few minutes ago, that you can definitely integrate all of them together by having subsections. Here, the categories are depending on your use, not on the tool. So the tool or the app you're using, you can include everything, but it depends on your intention or what you're looking for out of using this e-portfolio. So here, as I was saying, the purpose for standardize is mainly to assess students' work compared to other students, other peers, demonstrate high level of achievement. So depending on what student has completed. As I was saying, this type of e-portfolio can be applied in linked classes. It's the assessment section that the teacher gets to choose or select the type of artifacts that will be included in the e-portfolio when it comes to assessment. So maybe that part, the student, it's not up to the student to select his or her own work because it's going to be used for assessing. So this is one way of handling e-portfolios. And the second common one is the personalized, where each owner has all the control over what he or she selects to use. So the purpose here is to allow self-expression, encourage creativity, and definitely create buy-in in the learning process, which is what e-portfolios are trying to be, about or trying to address, is to encourage learners to, be motivated, which we'll see in the benefits coming next. So the audience here, again, could vary. Could be teachers, could be students, could be other people you're willing to share with. Yes, definitely, Matthew. It gives them a more active role, as learners, and encourages self-directed learning. Definitely. Thank you for that. So these are generally, the types that e-portfolios can fall under. Do you have any questions or comments? Have you read, for example, all of us, we heard about e-portfolios before one way or another. So have you come across another type maybe that is not included in the webinar so far? I would love to hear from you if you have more information. That's a great question, Amrita. Which do you think are most commonly used to track ESL learners' progress? I would like to ask you this question because you're actually, you're already teaching now. And what do you think would be a suitable one out of these types? Would you select a standardized or personalized approach? These are different approaches, by the way. So it's completely up to you and depends on the organization as well. Yeah, Mary is sharing that my husband is a graphic designer and he uses an online portfolio for art called Behance. Behance, is it how it's pronounced? Which makes a lot of sense to showcase. Yes, definitely. So Amrita, I'm still looking for your thoughts on your question. Can we also modify the standardized one? Uh, yeah, I think, Farida, this depends on the organization you're working with. If this is used broadly on a broader level, or you are a freelancer, you can, or even you work in a place but you're applying that individually. Okay. So you think, Amrita thinks that personalized if I'm teaching one student, otherwise standardized if teaching a group? Because time, yeah, the time factor. I agree with you, the time factor. But yes, Matthew is suggesting a hybrid of both, as it would be nice to establish criteria, but at the same time give learners ownership in selecting the content of said portfolio. I would go with your opinion, Matthew. Like somehow, you would give learners somewhere along the way on their project to have their own freedom. It would be a good idea, Mary, to have standardized one for large groups with a tab or section for personalized items. Yes, that may supersede the classwork. So again, it's the same idea of Matthews, that somehow you can leave a partition or part for, the freedom of expression. Which would be less frustrating, I guess, for learners, the fact that they feel they have, a say in their own learning somehow. That's a good point. Matthew, could be selected by the student. Yeah, they can choose the best one to include in the portfolio. Yeah, which I learned actually last evening from some of the link teachers, that there is a section which is the assessment section, that the teachers have the say in what to include. Other than that, they leave a little bit of freedom to learners to select, some artifacts that they are proud of. Definitely guidelines, yes, and this will be discussed very soon here. So that will take us to, thank you for your thoughts. Excellent, excellent ideas. Yeah, so the underlying theory here is mainly social constructivism. Feel free, please, to share what is your understanding of social constructivism. Have you come across this term before? Have you read it somewhere? For those of you who are studying, yeah, I'm sure you've come across that. Yeah, it's a learning theory. Yes, for students like you and me, Amrita. Okay, so social constructivism is a learning theory which proposes that learning happens most effectively when students construct their own learning for themselves, rather than simply having the information presented and offered to them without, passively. So another evidence of effective learning is that it happens in a social context. So this is the other part of the theory. So social, it happens in a social context. So there is interaction that takes place after the learner constructs his or her own knowledge. So it all starts as a solo activity, working on your e-portfolio. The student, as you can see in the diagram here, organizes, you organize your thoughts, then you reflect, and then at some point you socialize and you share your reflections with your teacher, with your peers, with your parents, and then you continue create, you archive and store, you share again, you get feedback. So it's like a cycle. Experientialism, yes, exactly. So there is that component of the practical part as well. Farida, thank you for sharing that. So you know, the construction of knowledge is followed by dialogue and interacting with others. It is actually the process of creating and then sharing an e-portfolio with others is somehow like telling a story, you know. So telling story, it is the solo activity that you're starting with, and then you're sharing the story with other people of your own learning journey. Okay, which suits the strategy or the method of using e-portfolios. If you have any thoughts on this, please feel free to jot it down. Okay, I have here for you some you know, advices, as I said, as I have mentioned earlier, from experienced educators who have applied and used e-portfolios in their classrooms. And this, by the way, like using e-portfolios can be used in an online setting, as in our context, the e-tutors at English Online, or if you're teaching online, generally speaking, or if it's a face-to-face setting, it can be applied for both settings. So here, instructors advise to explain benefits. It is very important that you explain benefits and highlight what's in it for the learner to know the benefits or the advantages of using e-portfolios. And actually, the benefits would be highlighted in a couple of slides later. It's very important for the learner to know what could be of use for him or her when they apply or use e-portfolios. And then establishing clear expectations, which I guess Matthew has pointed out. It's very important to have a very clear framework of how you will be, what is expected of the learner, how the learner will be assessed, what are the steps that you need to follow in order to complete working on your e-portfolio. And the third point here is provide varied examples created by students. In my experience as a student as well, I find that this is very important to help learners get a clear idea of what, you know, the assignment is, or what the project they're working on looks like. And this can be done by sharing different samples from other students. I've added here one that you can actually click on and take a look at after we're done with this page. This student has created her e-portfolio using Prezi, but of course, as we said, and as we're going to see later in the slides, that there are different tools that you can use. So she chose to use Prezi as one way of creating her e-portfolio. And she's a student in University of Waterloo. Okay. The next one is to scaffold learning. Okay, it's important that teachers help students start small by asking them to choose maybe one artifact, like an essay, or any piece of work that the student is comfortable using at the beginning, and encourage them to reflect on the challenges they have while writing their essay, or on how this assignment helped them to understand how to complete other assignments. Because you know the way a person reflects on his or her work can vary from one person to another and could be quite challenging at the beginning. So it's important that the student gets some guidance from the teacher on how to pursue that. And the next one is walk the talk. It would be an excellent idea for you and your learners that you can create for yourself an e-portfolio as well. Try it out, share it with your students, and then when you provide them with guidance, then it's based on experience, and you'll be like a good example for them, instead of not having one and then trying to guide them along the way, which will be more difficult. Exactly, Matthew. It really boosts students' buy-in. Definitely, I agree with you. And they sort of feel more secure that, okay, I'm going to refer back to my teacher because he or she has more information and knowledge about this new strategy or app. And most importantly, to tie the e-portfolios to assessment. This is a link to a very important video, in my opinion, because this shares few instructors in University of Waterloo, their experience of or their advice on how you can tie e-portfolio to the learning outcomes in your course, to integrate it into the curriculum somehow, to make it meaningful, instead of just mentioning it at the beginning of the term, beginning of the year, depends on, uh, how long is your course, and then just at the end asking them about submitting it. It needs to be a work in progress. It needs to be linked directly, connected directly to the learning outcomes, where the student understands very well how he or she will be assessed, on that. And finally, to make it social, to share. When you share and publish and interact with your teacher, with your peers, with other members of faculty, if you would like, with parents, that will definitely help it to be social. So making it social also, the teacher can integrate aspects like viewing and commenting on other students' work or other students' e-portfolio as part of the assessment. That will somehow oblige the learners to make it a point to socialize, even if they're not interested at the beginning. Okay, always when this is part of the whole way of the learning outcomes integrated, then they are obliged to do so. So this video is around 10 minutes long. Yes, Amrita is saying it might be a good idea to include some guidelines for what students should be paying attention to, and including those thoughts in their comments. Definitely, modeling it is important. Yes, yes, I agree with you, Amrita. And we're going to come across this later on how to assess. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. How can we assess e-portfolios with, which is a little bit, you know, there are different opinions about this, debatable a little bit. All right. So if we have time at the end of the webinar, maybe I can invite you to watch this video. Otherwise, it's gonna be there when I upload the PowerPoint, so you can feel free and watch it later on. So it depends on our time. So we can move now to the benefits. Some of the benefits we have already discussed, as the use of e-portfolios develops new or deeper learning by reflection. When the students reflect on their own work, that encourages them to, as we said, to use critical thinking, yeah, and this generates new and deeper learning. It promotes a better understanding of oneself as a learner and as an individual. Okay, I have a question from Mary here. I wonder how it would work if you made it somewhat mandatory for learners to give comments and feedback on work. When I did my RRC program, this was a requirement for course completion. Well, I think there's nothing wrong with that. My personal opinion, Mary, and as a student as well, because I'm doing my master's. So I think that to make it mandatory is somehow not forcing, but sort of encouraging the learners to reflect if they have a difficulty doing that. Because it could be quite challenging to reflect on your own work, right? And maybe for many people, they don't like to do it. So they have to be sort of, forced somehow. Amrita, yes, agreed. I think it should be a requirement and should be assessed. Otherwise, it might feel pointless, definitely. Yeah, which brings us back to the point of it has to be linked to the learning outcomes. A part of your mark. Self and peer correction is an expectation of workplaces and other settlement activities. I agree with you, Mary, 100%. Although it might not be a very desirable, practice, but it does help the individual to reflect on his own work and to offer others as well, constructive feedback. Let us put it. Yes, they can opt not to, but definitely there's a price for that. Yeah. Thank you. And the third point here, it offers practicality and allows easy sharing of information with anyone. So this point, you may not find it in a hard copy portfolio, because definitely now with, we are in the 21st century, and with using technology, e-portfolios are more manageable. They're easy to use, and you can share instantly with anyone you would like. And showcasing one's achievements in case of job application. I'm starting to work on something like that as a way of organizing my documents. It's I created I joined one of the tools that I will mention later on, and I will show you how it could be really manageable to do so. So showcasing one's achievements is something important for students, for professionals. And back to this point which you all have raised, allows a uniform assessment method that is applied on everyone. However, each learner can add his or her own creativity part to the work. Promote self-evaluation, as Mary has added, self-evaluation, and definitely lifelong learning with a focus on the ELLs, the English language learners. We cannot deny also that it improves the mastery of computer use in learning, even for the novice users, even for those who are not tech savvy. They will, gain the skills while they are trying to discover their way around using e-portfolios. And from the apps that I have researched, they're not very much complicated, especially that there are now tutorials that you can follow, you can watch and follow, and create, choose the tool that is more suitable for you. Now, here is students' perspectives on using e-portfolios, and I would like to invite you now to click on the link and watch it. It's a short one, and when you're done, you can come back and let me know what you think. So you can go ahead, click on it, and watch it, please. It doesn't work? Okay, Amrita watched it. If it's a big problem, Mary, no worries. I just try and do it. I tried to copy because it's a PDF. So yeah, Farida says, I had seen this video before. Yes, Waterloo University. Okay, let me try to. Okay, here is the link, Mary. I added it for you. Okay. So any ideas or comments about the students' perspectives here? Definitely the reflection part that is repeated in the cycle is of great appreciation for the student, even though if they cannot feel it at the beginning. um, so planning, doing, reflecting, recording, reflecting, reviewing, reflect. So it's reflection all through the way. Thank you, Rainer. All right. So if you don't have any thoughts on this, we can move to how to assess e-portfolios. Statistics class. Okay, so Amrita is saying what surprised me is that her second reflection, she talked about developing leadership skills. This is in a statistics class where leadership is not often discussed. Okay, I'm not, I don't have knowledge about statistics, but maybe it's not the content, Amrita, as much as to the approach of, reflecting and maybe interacting with others that helped this leadership to exist or to be felt. Yeah, Matthew is saying she really demonstrates the benefits of articulating your reflection, speech writing, the practicality part. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Matthew and Amrita. So going to the assessment of e-portfolios, as we have mentioned earlier, aligning the e-portfolio with the learning outcomes is of great importance. It actually, as Amrita has mentioned, it gives the e-portfolio a meaning, a meaningful purpose, right? Instead of considering it as an add-on, activity. No, it's integrated from the beginning with very clear purposes of using it. Sharing a grading rubric is important, and this link actually is for one rubric that I found interesting to use, that you can maybe get ideas from if you would like to click on it. It's specifically designed for e-portfolios, for assessing e-portfolios. So there is that section where there are digital artifacts. If you can take a look at it, you can do that. Okay, and then next point, I'm trying to open. I feel it's very straightforward, and it helps the learner to get a good idea about how he or she will be assessed. Also, there is that. Yes, Farida is saying this is something great. Keeping you goal oriented. Yeah. The next one is provide or explain a reflective practice guide. So again, this is related to guiding the learners on how to reflect, which could be, again, challenging for the learner at the beginning to practice doing that. But with guidance and scaffolding, it could get easier. And finally, there is always that opportunity of direct oral feedback, whether in person, if this is a face-to-face setting, or online, or recording of a web conference session, which could make things easier, more practical, and can be stored. I mean, the learner can always go back and listen to his or her teacher's feedback as many times as you want. So if you can take a look in the rubric, there are two important components, which are navigation, how the navigation links are added. Are they added in a confusing way or not? The multimedia elements again, the way the graphic elements are and multimedia are included, the audios and the videos artifacts, which apply basically to the e-portfolio more than a regular portfolio. And finally, we have some free tools to share. Which one I would like you to share with me? Which one could be familiar or you have maybe come across? I think, in my opinion, Weebly is very common or popular, and the less common ones could be what, in your opinion? So we have Weebly, we have Portfolio Gen, PebblePad, and OneNote. I know OneNote is very common, like Google Drive, but specifically I've selected Class Notebook in OneNote. Wix.com, yes, thank you, Farida. Actually, if you dig deeper into University of Waterloo, the website I've shared, the link I've shared with you, you will find that most of the students' e-portfolios are designed using Wix.com. There are actually many. Have you tried it yourself before, Farida? Or have you that's excellent. Great. So maybe you can use that with your learners somehow, or encourage them to use it. Okay. I've personally created started to create my e-portfolio using Portfolio Gen. So the Weebly one here, it's mostly a website, right? So it's creating your own website, and you can transform it into an e-portfolio if you would like. Okay, the Portfolio Gen could be applied on a class level. You create your own e-portfolio, and you encourage your students to create theirs, and you can communicate using the same tool. Thank you, Farida. And the PebblePad also is, an easy one. So the shortest video is the Portfolio Gen. It's like 1.56 minutes or so. And the final one, the Class Notebook, I find that this one could be easy to use if you have a big number of students. So you have a full class, right? So you can design a class, create a class for them. And under this class, you can include like some subcategories, with different students' names. Okay, I would like to invite you maybe to take a quick look at either Portfolio Gen now or Pebble Pad, because these are the shortest if you want to watch quickly now. And you can keep Weebly and Class Notebook until later because they're longer, they're much longer. Amrita says, yeah, you have used Wix.com before. Yeah, so maybe, yeah, you can give me some guidance on how to use that if you find this is easy to use. Have you used it with any of your learners or you yourself? Okay. As a student, right? In a project. Okay. There are some great samples, Amrita and Farida, because you've used Wix.com. There are some great samples on the University of Waterloo website for other students who have created, their projects using e-portfolios in different majors. All right. So, Mary, thank you, Mary. Rainer is saying we use Carbon Made for our business, but it's really ideal for visual displays like graphic design. Excellent. Thank you very much. So you have some experience when it comes to e-portfolios. That's great. Yes, I know the market is full of different tools, and it's about how easy each one is to use. And when it comes to education, you can select from a variety. Also, the Google Drive is the most common, and it's very easy to use. It's like the one we're gonna create for our volunteers, to store resources. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this morning. Here are the references. If you have, Matthew is saying, I actually use Google Drive in my classes. It is ideal for working and comments on each other's work. I agree with you, Matthew. It's very easy, very accessible, and it allows freedom of uploading material. Christine, thank you, Christine. So please feel free to email me if you would like a certificate of participation within 1 hour of the end of the session. Okay, and then I will definitely reply to you within 48 hours. Yes, and you can, Matthew is saying it's nice that you can look at older version of the same file so that you can see its evolution. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you very much, everyone. Rainer, Mary, Farida, Christine, Matthew, Amrita. Thank you very much. And I wish you a lovely Saturday, rest of Saturday and Sunday. Thank you very much.